To rock and roll, so if you don't mind, I'll start this off. Ladies and gentlemen, in the bottom right side of Frozen Temple, we've got the red Zerg, Aces, no longer Aces Bly. I messed that up really well.
That was amazing! Dear God. And in the top left, as the blue Zerg, it is Roots Hydra.
Of course, Frozen Temple is a map that, for most races, a little bit tough to take thirds on, but for Zerg, I think is also included in this one. The openness makes this really scary. And again, for Hydra, I think he's got to have an idea what Bly's going to be up to in this series. It's going to get aggressive, it's going to get scary. So if he plays too greedy, that's going to kill him right there.
Yeah. So we see that Bly is going ahead and expanding. So we talked about his 14-14s, his early pools, but when we talked to him directly, he actually was like, he was counting in his head like, one early pool, two early pools,
yeah,
like that type of deal. And he's actually not going to do as many as we expect, but that Core Hall Carnage mix-up there means there'll be at least one more that we'll see.
Yeah, of course, we make jokes all the time talking with Bly. He's like the 14-14 guy. He's actually said he's not looking to do too much of that today, referencing those pools. So I'm really curious to see how he plans to take on Hydra, because I think Hydra is one of these guys, when it comes to Roach Ravager, in consistently casting him online, we see mistakes. Like, that's actually not his strong suit. Well, the Odd Corrosive Bile gets hit, or he misses his. Bly could actually take leads there. But if this game's going to go to mutas, I'm going to get really scared for that, because I think that's where Bly does have a bit of a weak spot. Yeah,
so we'll see if he's sticking to his plan right off the bat. He actually says that Frozen Temple, he wants to go for those fast mutas. He's going to go ahead and skip speed. Hydra does do this build very, very commonly. So he's talking, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. So if it's a map where you can actually get the natural ramp or natural choke to have a evolution chamber and a roach war, and you can wall it off, Hydra is a guy that does that quite a bit. So Bly is actually prepared for that, but he is mixing it up. He's actually going for speed.
Yeah, so at least I'll have the tools to work in the early game. Again, we won't see too much of commitment unless we see those drones get cut, but for now, it is about getting across the map, maybe poking, maybe looking. I think it's safe to say you're not expecting Hydra to hit you with a lot of banelings early on. So this sort of later scout, or however you want to phrase it, like, they'll get in, they'll see nothing really too alarming, and for Bly's sake, it'll allow him to continue playing towards layer tech however he'd please. Yeah,
of course, even when we see his speed, the layer tech could possibly be happening, but it's actually Hydra that's really mixing it up, going for that fast layer.
Yeah.
Bly will actually match him on that layer as well.
So this is also Hydra not having speed for this, by the way. Bly's, of course, hasn't finished just yet, but it's going to be done in a moment. And the question really comes in, like, will Hydra need that speed? Because if you get to this point where you've got roaches, that 100 gas is so much better spent in those 4 extra roaches than lings that are, well, going to be useless.
No, it's actually going to be that roach one going down at the front, and that's something that Bly has not seen yet as he was chasing those lings. So it is still that wall off, which is a very fast layer. So we'll see if Bly is going to be going for that Spire, as he said he wanted to do. I mean, it feels like with Bly, it is either those early pulls, early aggression, or it is that Spire.
He had gone back to chase that ling down the middle of the map, so it looks like Hydra will get a decent scout, but the Queen shuts it down pretty early, so nothing into the main just yet. So for Hydra's sake, he doesn't know about the timings, he doesn't know how many gases are in play, and obviously when you're looking for someone playing mutas, gases are the big thing you want to see.
Yeah, and there's that +1 starting up for Hydra right now.
A little bit of action going on here in the Mineral Alliance.
A little bit, actually gets a drone right there, nicely done with that speed advantage, and he's actually going to get that full scout in the main as well.
Well, he might if he moves.
Yeah, I mean, he's moved to the side a little bit.
All right, so he sees the layer, he saw the Roach War, and I think he knew very well what Hydra was going for. Bly's still insisting on going for the Spire. This is not necessarily a bad choice, but there's problems with this. One of the biggest weaknesses being, if you're going mutas, you don't have a lot of great defense against these roaches. So typically we see like spine crawlers get thrown down, you see players trying to defend, and just hold this off until the mutas pop. Frozen Temple is kind of a short map though, so he's not going to have a lot of time, and spines haven't started. If this third goes up, I almost feel like it's a decoy at best. Like, there's no way he's going to be able to hold this against roaches.
Actually, if the third is the first one that's going to be attacked, that's actually, like, that's great for Bly. He's like, yeah, please attack that third. Like, I'm going to cancel it, I'm going to be great. But unfortunately, I'm not sure that Hydra's going to actually fall for that, right? Like, if he's going to push, and he has a lot of roaches on the way, he's going to push fast and hard in that natural.
This is a really important scout, though. With the Overseer finishing up at Bly's third, he's going to be moving into the main to confirm what exactly is coming. He may have thought, like, oh, Bly decided to play a little bit more macro, but that's not actually the case. Ling's been on the side. Overseer makes it to the main. Queen's trying to make sure that doesn't see the Spire, but unfortunately it is revealed. So this is kind of the ticket for Hydra to either play, you got to start those Queens and the Spores right now, or you go across the map with the Roaches. And looks like we got a bit of movement here with Blue, going across the map with said Roaches.
Yeah, he's going to have +1 as well as that speed to really get across that map very, very fast. And I'm not sure Bly's going to be able to hold this. He has a couple of spine crawlers coming down right now, but it's only 2. I mean, they're pretty darn late. I think Hydra is a very good opportunity here.
He does have muta started. There's so many times the timing on this. I mean, it's not a lot. Yeah, I know, but a lot of the times they're not even begun yet. So he's going to use links to try and hold. If Roaches get a great spot on the ramp,
Yeah.
Hydra's not going to be done with those Lings anytime soon, but he doesn't have to worry about them killing him. Nice snipe in the front. That Spine Crawler goes down. Drones are getting pulled. You already know this is Harry, but the Muta's starting to spawn. Can he clean this up before taking too much
You know,
damage?
he might just be able to. I mean, the Roaches were they're all like clumped up together, but now that they're splitting, and that's where
it's so
Muta's gonna have a
few.
little more difficulty. I mean, Bly was at 41 drones just a second ago. Suddenly, as you see the split in Roaches, it goes way down.
If he can keep running these around, if he doesn't lose too many drones, the Mutas will clean this up, as you said.
Gosh.
The Roaches are really low. The ones in the main are unfortunately dying. He's down in the last 27. It's still rising. It's not great just yet, but keep in mind, Hydra's also going to have to spend a lot to defend against these Mutas. I don't think Bly's in a fantastic spot, don't get me wrong, but he's got tools to work with. He's not out of the game just yet.
Yeah. I mean, the Muta, like, when you have Mutas, I feel, in ZvZ, or actually any matchup, really, you're going to be like, okay, I can do something. Like, let me go Super Saiyan right here and kill Queens, kill a third base. And we have seen very clumsy defense against Mutas, especially if you aren't expecting mass Mutas, you know? Like, are they sticking on Mutas or not sticking on Mutas? So Bly, of course, Mutas are all he's going to have. He's going to try and drone up. He was at 17, I believe, was the final count. If he was at, like, 25, 30, I'd be like, okay. But anything below that, I don't know.
This is the good and the bad thing about the situation. First off, the Queen count's low right now. He can take this on. But as more Queens get made, I like that pullback. Still not far enough away. As more Queens get made, this gets harder to deal with because of those transfuses. But he catches Hydra before transfuses are ready to go. So taking not bad engagements here.
Yeah, he can actually take on the other Queens, but he's going to back off for now. Of course, remember that we actually mentioned that third base for Bly. It is actually up. Not that I would be minding that much.
Oh, Nidus Worm coming down out of Hydra.
Okay.
This is a good way to get underneath the Mutas and across the map.
Yeah, this is also a good way to not let them start getting that stupid number of Mutas.
Yeah.
You know, like you try and get your Infestors, you try and get your Hydras, and they suddenly have like 30 Mutas, and you're like, oh gosh darn it.
Yeah, 8 or 10, that's manageable. 30 or 40, not even a chance. But this is going to be interesting because he is still producing a lot of Queens, which means I think he's going to be taking these across the map.
Yeah.
He's going to have anti-air in his opponent's base. Hydra is still recovering. He's finally taking a drone count that's nice. It is worth noting, like, Hydra's the one who needs upgrades with this too, not Bly. There's no need to invest in +1. He's going to slowly try and get Roaches out himself after this. But as long as this Nidus Worm doesn't actually hit him too hard, Bly should be okay. But that's a lot of Queen zombie grab. That's like that's at least 9 or something Queens in play right now.
If Bly could find every single Nidus Worm on the map that's popping up and snipe it with the Mutas, I'd be like, okay, then, like, you know, what else is Hydra's plan here? But that is a very tall order. In fact, that Nidus Worm off to the right side has popped up, and Queens can actually start spreading creep. I mean, you can even bring drones. Look up with Spore Crawlers.
That would we've actually seen that a couple times. It works quite well. Unfortunately, Bly is out of position for this, so might be forced to try to base trade. But as much as I love that word, it might not be the greatest idea in this situation. As he comes back home, there's a lot of transfuses on these Queens. Focusing any one of them down is going to be a large task in and of itself.
Yeah. I think this is going to be in game. I mean, Bly is down 30 supply. He's losing all of those drones. He just rebuilt. That army supply is pretty severe as well. Even a +1 for Hydra's units. The Mutas will come back and at least take care of that Nidus from reinforcing. But this army that's right here right now is good enough.
Yeah, the Muta count actually can't take on the Queens. It looks a little bit silly to consider. It's Queens, right? Like, who's going to think about those? But he's throwing Spines in, I guess, is that the main or the 4th? Like, he's spreading them out all over. Just trying to make sure that he's got something to fight with. But I think we know, you know, everyone knows that this is not looking good for Bly.
Yeah, it is definitely not. So actually, I mean, with this first game going down here, I feel like Bly, of course we can't go up and ask him, but, you know, he was actually very, like, he was like, I am not going to get speed if it's Frozen Temple, because he knew the timing of the Roach attack that Hydra does when he goes through the build that he did. So I don't know what he saw maybe in his scout that made him change his mind, okay, go for speed, or if it's the first game he was a little bit nervous. I mean, Bly's been to so many tournaments, I can't believe that's the case, but I mean, and that did affect him. Maybe if the news had been out, you know, 30 seconds faster, the Spine Club's been built, of course, 30 seconds faster, he'd actually still be in this game.
It's an interesting assessment. Good game finally gets called. Hydra going to take game number 1 as best of 5.
Yeah.
Help.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, just getting yourself worked up. And I don't know, you know, we told him to take a nap beforehand because he's been feeling that jet lag pretty hard. But, well, here we go.
I messed this one up last time, so I'll give it to you.
Oh, are you real? Okay, now I'm going to mess it up. All right, in the bottom left on Dusk Towers, it is the Red Zerg Bly.
Woo!
Almost with the Acer.
And, of course, in the opposite side, top right on Dust Towers, it's going to be Root Gaming's Blue Zerg Hydra. Hashtag root for root, right?
Yeah, right.
All right, so it's awesome, too, because we saw a lot of his teammates here. Got to talk to Kelzer a little bit. Obviously, Cats, as we mentioned. But Hydra, I just love that there's this huge like team dynamic with Root. Unfortunately, Bly, you know, no longer being on Acer, kind of just flying solo for a bit. I'm wondering how much help he has actually outside the game. As mentioned before, Hydra got some FaceTime with Cats to talk about what's going on. Bly may be forced to play this a little bit more solo.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I don't know who we'd be talking to, really. He didn't mention anyone. But we see here, of course, you got to bring this up, this earlier pool on Dusk Towers. So Hydra, unfortunately, is already going for a pool himself, so it's not going to be like he's going to have caught off guard. Very rarely do you see, but you do see some on Dusk Towers at 3 Atcha for a pool, but I don't think Bly was hoping that was going to happen.
I think it's also important to note he didn't take the natural at the third, as we've seen a lot of Zergs have been doing more lately. This is going to make sure that Hydra's pretty safe, and again, like, you probably on the back of your mind know in every single game, there's a chance at a 14-13 or 13-12 or whatever early pool that Bly decides to style himself towards. It's not to say that he can't do damage with this, though. A lot of the times you'll run 4 Lings around the side of the map, try and dodge the Overlords, and surprise, Banelings get you off guard. But we'll see if Hydra actually manages to catch these, as they do kind of sneak off to the side.
Of course.
Only 2, though, not 4, interestingly enough.
Yeah, it's very common to sneak those off to the side. You know, actually, basically, like, the exact time of those Overlords and move across the map. It's a very direct map on Dusk Towers. But Hydra sending his own Lings out as well. I mean, he went for, like, his own fairly quick pull. Like, not, like, you know, super early, but he is... I think he'd be really well prepared. Of course, right now the problem would be that he'd just be outmaneuvered. He would, you know, outmaneuvered by the speed, or maybe the Baneling actually gets a really good hit, and that's something he does have to worry about. And Bly is that master of making things work when they really shouldn't.
Yeah, his stubbornness shines through in a lot of situations, but he does manage to get most of those Lings through without being scouted. Hydra's just now going to realize what's going on. Thankfully, he's got some of his own Lings to fight with and maybe scare Bly, but on the other side of the map, Bly's on the top of that third ramp, and he's just waiting to make some Banelings. There we go, first 2 Banelings on the way.
Yeah, I almost feel like it's kind of funny that Hydra bought the chicken at natural.
I know, like, you really, like, who do you think you're playing against here? But with the massive amount of Lings revealed, he's seeing the Baneling nest, he's got to know what's going on. This is a hard map to wall off. The ramp's actually far enough away that Queens can't quite walk there, so he's doing this thing that we've been seeing a lot more commonly now, where you wall yourself inside the mineral lines. You use the focus fire from the Queens in the spine, you slamp off the Banelings, no problem. But Bly, is he heading to the natural instead? No, this is going the long way around. Okay.
I guess they were trying to block.
It does draw the Queens out of position, though. They sneak right past, hit that drone line. Not a lot of kills here initially, but it just needs to splash them so the Lings can finish the job. More Banelings coming from the other side, ring around the Rosie here around Hydra's base.
They almost are hitting those drones. It's actually so close. They're still alive, 2 Banelings over there. The Lings start taking on the Lings and the Queens of Hydra, but they were unable to really get a ton of drone kills. Now it's even up a little bit more as we do have Bly making drones behind this. He's not fully committing despite getting those Banelings in that speed.
This was a great holdout of Hydra, by the way. Good reactions, great unit placement. Ring around the Rosie effect was funny because we sometimes actually see that hurt more than help, but Bly now, not exactly on the ropes, but not getting the mission accomplished. And we saw a little bit of indecisiveness there too, waiting with the Lings, trying to catch the drones when really could have attacked the Queens the whole time. Decides at the last second. I'm really worried for Bly now.
Yeah, of course. I mean, he only killed 2 drones, so the drone count itself doesn't look so bad, but recall that Hydra does have, eventually he's going to have just more efficient mining with a natural base. He has more larva. He actually has both these Queens bothering to spread creep as well, and he threw down a Roach Warren, so he's already on that, like, higher tech.
So what do you think Bly does in this situation? You go greedy, you just keep going aggressive like classic Bly does. What's the best way to recover?
Okay, so like Bly would just go greedy or go offensive again, right? But I don't know, like on Dusk Towers again, like going back to his plan, it's really seemed to be altered by the way. Like I don't think he's following his plan much at all anymore. But he was pretty convinced he was going to go the late game. But he was also once again bringing up that word mutas. Like if he doesn't early pull, or even if he early pulls, he's also going to be going for mutas. And Dusk Towers can be a very good, very popular map for those mutas, and it's also a very good tool to come back. Like if your opponent's going roaches and they have the better setup, and you go roaches, it's just a numbers game, right?
Yeah, you can't outplay that macro.
Yeah, exactly. Then actually change things up.
Well, that layer gets revealed as he is starting it up right now. Unfortunately, you can't really risk not showing it for the sake of timing, as he knows that Hydra is going to be just moseying on. He's up about 6 drones right now. It's nothing crazy. I'm keeping an eye on that army supply, though. It's, again, Hydra hasn't really invested in much here. He's really gone back to droning. I think he knew right away Bly was also going to be doing this, so kind of taking it casually. Didn't waste a bunch of larva, gas, or money on making too many roaches that he wouldn't be using to attack later. I really like this. So calm and collected as he goes towards a Spire himself.
Ah, so Hydra going for a Spire and Bly going for a Roach Warren. I was actually, you brought up that army supply, so I looked, and Bly is floating quite a bit of money. I don't know if that's the larva problem for not having that natural hatchery, or if he was saving up for something in particular. I mean, even a third base could have gone down if he was banking like 450, 500 minerals, but he's just continuing to drone, getting that Roach Warren. I mean, now we got to bring up the flip of that last game where it could be something that Bly could attack before the Spire is ready, but that's where Hydra could make emergency roaches if he saw the attack coming with his Overseer.
Yeah, a lot of this could be about that information game. That Overseer providing a lot of it, but gonna not have to worry about that as all. His own Spire starts, so I guess Bly's one thinking about the precautionary roaches in the situation.
It's always so funny because roaches into a Spire, totally, like, it's what we see a lot on Dusk Towers, but in like the mid game, you know, like they've all been their macro and whatnot, and that is the safer way you can build those roaches in an emergency. But to have it happen after an early pull, it looks a bit funky. They're both getting to the same setup, though. Of course, Hydra has that better economy.
Yeah, I mean, it's starting to even out a little bit here, what with the thirds being so close. Hydra was pretty close on drones, took a small lead here as Bly continues to make them, but I really don't know that we're going to see this dynamic that we do classically where it's, oh, you needed the extra 2 geysers, and that's how you got the 1 Muta ahead. There's a lot of things that have changed the game quite a bit with Legacy of the Void, but at the end of the day, Muta versus Muta is still pretty much the same. You got more Mutas, they got better upgrades, you're going to have a good time.
Yeah. I love Muta versus Muta. I know you don't, but I think it has so many intricacies that's very, very interesting. And speaking of which, we have a +1 flyer attack on the way for Hydra. Bly, I mean, I don't know if he scouted that Spire. I don't think Hydra scouted Bly's Spire. He could get maybe a little bit of an edge if he goes for that Carapace.
Carapace is better, but it's by such a small marginal amount. I can't imagine it'll have too big of an influence. I gotta think that the number of Mutas is gonna reign supreme here.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Bly, he's actually surpassed the drone count, so given a few more minutes, given some very proper, safe play, he could start to catch up. One thing that, everyone focuses on the Muta, and he does, of course, start the Carapace after seeing the Mutas. In Muta versus Muta, you focus on the Mutalisk, wisely, because they have the most important thing, but the Ling counterattacks, the Lings, soaking up a little bit of Glaive Worm damage can be just as important.
Absolutely. I mean, the run-bys as well, just completely getting around the Mutas can sometimes be what ends the game more than anything else. But regardless, Bly's losing a lot of map presence right now. This is what's scary. The Overlord's getting cleaned up suck. Obviously, he's supply blocked. It's going to hurt trying to replenish that as 5 more Overlords are made. But he's lost a lot of potential to spread creep. He won't know where these Mutas are coming from. Whereas we look at the mini-map, blue dots everywhere for Hydra.
Yeah, it is quite unfortunate. And Hydra did just have a big burst of drones, so he's using that third base quite well. The Mutas start harassing a little bit. This is a situation where Bly just can't, believe it or not, affording Spore Crawlers is a little bit expensive, especially if you were the one down in economy for so long. So even though 1 Spore Crawler could probably save a mineral line, could save an engagement, it's 5 more Mutas.
This is something interesting. He's actually focus firing with the Queens. I like this. They're not just kind of an auto tag. Trying to finish off those low Mutas as he pulled his back for that regeneration to kick in, but not quite enough. Home field advantage for Zerg is huge when it comes to ZvZ, but when it's this dynamic, when it's Muta versus Muta, sometimes that's simply not enough.
Yeah, I was watching him, Bly. I guess it was once again that lava problem, which is banking again. Now he has 7 more Mutas on the way. He's looking a bit stronger rather. And that Carapace is about to finish up as well. So +1 does have a bit of dynamic there, and of course Hydra, after realizing the situation, does start his +1 Carapace as well. He'll have that upgrade lead for 20 seconds, I want to say. Bly
just caught a huge surge of Mutas, by the way. Still not quite up to par with Hydra, but he's closing in on that number, something I didn't expect to happen. But as a Hydra uses his presence to secure a 4th behind it, that's where Bly's going to eventually start falling behind.
Yeah, I forgot that Hydra never bothered getting speed for his links. Actually, an engagement going down here. This is as Bly's Carapace finishes up, but they both actually decided to engage. Again, even if you're pretty sure you have more Mutas, actually, it's so funny, Control's right here. He's always the one they bring up, you can't tell the flappy wings from each other, so you don't know if you're really going to win.
Well, I do like the links coming out of Hydra. He's recognized that he needs speed. The run-bys are not really an opportunity, but still having them to soak the Glaive Worm damage that you mentioned before can be a big deal. I do think, though, that these Infestors out of Bly are interesting. This is going to be without Pathogen Glands, so they are not going to have the energy to fungal growth right away. But again, it's not always about the damage or anything like that. It's sometimes that priority to dive in deep for an Infestor while you eat Mutalisk Glaive Worms. That can be a really bad thing for Hydra if he tunnel visions on it.
So this is actually a pretty bold choice from Bly. He could have continued playing the Muta game, maybe got those Lings I was talking about involved, and really tried to just play to the late game. I mean, it's possible. We've seen Ultra games even on Dusk Towers, but instead he goes for the risky move, which is take a lot of gas and minerals away from your Muta production and put them into those Infestors and hope that they pay off.
And if at best they're one-hit wonders too, which is kind of scary, you're going to hit that fungal growth and they'll be useless for another minute in the game. So really has to make sure it counts. There's an attack of slow rush of slow Lings coming into the third base of Bly while this goes on, something he is going to have to deal with. So he pulls the Mutas away to deal with this, interestingly enough, leaving a little bit of free reign to kill the Spire in the main!
Wow, okay, all right. Yeah, and of course you see the emergency Infested Terrans coming down because Hydra attacked too soon. Bly didn't have the Pathogen Glands to give him a fungal right off the bat, and this might just be it.
Yeah, it was so close. I like the idea of the Infested Terrans in a clutch situation, but there's just simply not enough of them. Lings and Roaches underneath us causing a lot of problems as well. Bly just can't make these Mutas back. GG! Hydra gonna take a 2-0 lead. Dang.
And I'm actually going to be so sad if Bly goes down 3-0.
Talked earlier about Polt losing to Firecake. He was so certain that it would be Polt after this, should he be able to win.
That's where it all started. He was so confident Firecake was going to lose, and that's where it fell apart. He was so confident he was going to win this, and Just bad with the guesses today.
So are you saying the fear of facing Fire Cake is affecting him here versus Hydra?
Oh, no, that's what I'm saying. I was like, no. Oh, okay.
This is the map.
Only I knew.
Hang on, Bly, you guys need to know this before we do the intro. Bly was positive this was going to get vetoed today, by the way, so it's really interesting to see this be what is possibly the deciding match on Coral Carnage Knockout. On the rightmost side of the map, it is going to be the Red Zerg. On fire's Bly.
In the left side of Coral Carnage Knockout, it is the Blue Zerg Hydra.
Woo. All right, so early pools are good on this map. This is something we know from what we've seen. This is something Bly's also told us firsthand. So I'm actually a little bit surprised to see this go past 14.
Yet again, yeah, he's changing his plan. He was 100% convinced that this was going to be in the map pool. He was going to early pool, but he decides not to. I mean, it might be, oh, wait a minute.
Oh, this is different. This is really cool. So Bly's opted to take his third as the natural.
What's really interesting about this is that he had a very specific plan for Ruins of Endion as well, which we might see win this game. But it was something kind of similar to this. Like, he's going to take that third base instead of the natural. It almost could look like, you know, you didn't take a natural if you just scouted with a Ling or your Overlord just went to that one location. Yeah,
depending on what Hydra scouts and what he sees, he may be confused. But let's not get too excited, because this is still kind of similar to seeing that third get taken on Dusk Towers. It can sometimes be a bit of a mislead, but often it's just for that nice setup back at home. Let's also not forget about those rocks you can very easily knock down to completely wall yourself off and buy yourself a lot of time.
That's actually why early pools can be very tricky on this map, because even if your early pool fails, or even if it does very well, you can break down your opponent's rocks, you can break down your rocks, and, you know, actually buy that time to recover, basically. But that's not going to happen here. Now, he did go for that hatchery. We'll see if he goes any greedier after that. I mean, he's got to still get that speed and whatnot, but we'll see if it's actually going to be a macro game.
I mean, for Bly's sake, you can't play too greedy. He has a huge risk to take here on map number 3, but as he scouts these rocks getting knocked down, this might give him that thought, like, oh, I've actually got the freedom to take it. He's the one playing scared. He's the one playing defensive. He's starting to have a couple of his own links because he wants to have units on the map, but Hydra's the one knocking down his own rocks to hide behind.
Yeah, so it might be Hydra just setting the pace here is very defensive, very economical, and we'll see if Bly wants to punish that or is like, okay, fine, like, I'm going to do your thing, I'll do my thing, and it'll be all right.
I actually think it'd be cooler if he didn't fully knock them down, but only took them to, like, 10%, so you could easily cut off Bly's army in the middle of a fight or something like that, should it come down to it. But for Bly just sending those links across the map, it's really not going to get a lot done. Maybe he wants to chip at the rocks, but I mean, it's 2 links. They don't have a lot of damage.
So unfortunately, like, Hydra's Overlord isn't that natural, and he sees that there's not a hatchery down there, but just at the timing that everything has gone down, like, he's not actually being fooled. He's still droning. He did not get a spine crawler. I think with Bly that would have been very important for him, like, to actually get for doing this. But
it's a really curious read, actually, because those rocks may have been taken down again defensively because he thought there's going to be a huge flood of Lings on the way. That Bly was sticking on one base, and this was going to be super duper all in. That's still kind of what it looks like, but the question for Hydra goes like, wait, where are the Lings? Why haven't you attacked yet? What's going on?
Yeah, that would be a very long time to wait to send those Lings in. So he's pretty good. I mean, still, like, yeah, definitely look around, see if there's Overlord drops coming in. Bly does have a couple of sneaky builds that are very, just weird. Nidus Swarm, I guess, later on, as they are both getting those layers, also a possibility, but Bly just sticking with that lair for now, kind of feeling this Spire.
I mean, I would actually really like this because, again, you're taking advantage of someone who was playing defensive. So, Hydra's not going to be planting down 7 Spore Crawlers or anything like that. He's going to be droning and maybe even getting caught off guard droning, depending on the course of things. But for Bly's sake, it is still a question of what's this going to look like. I don't think for Hydra it matters as much because he can still do a bit of reactionary timings to things. The Roach Warren is actually in a very interesting place. And Hydra...
Hydra, it was the Nidus Swarm once again. This kind of feels like Frozen Temple, which would be very unfortunate for Bly, but we'll see if maybe the Nidus can come out just a little bit quicker. Actually does not look like it. I mean, that Spire is not even like halfway done, and that Nidus Swarm is, so...
And it's going to go right in the main. Look at that Overlord in Bly's main. It's the only spot that Hydra could really place it on the map, so if it's not going to be outside the rocks, it'll be directly in the main.
I don't even think this is because Hydra thinks that he's going to go for a Spire, although it might be, as we've talked about, Bly likes a Spire play, but it might just be because of the map. There are a ton of places to place your Nidus Swarm. It's the one way to get around those rocks being broken down.
I think the second he realized Bly wasn't sending a horde of Lings, he knew exactly what was up. Hydra's a very smart player, and I think that was a really sick read to go for this. Now, this does go down to the main as predicted, and this could be it for Bly, guys. If you're a Bly fan, you got to cheer for him right now. Send him your energy, Spirit Bomb style, because he is in a lot of trouble. He's on 9 army supply. I don't think Drone Pulse will even save him in this place.
I can't even imagine the look on his face right now as he realizes what has just happened. The Spire is still not done. There's no cleanup that most he can hope the Spire actually does finish, which it could be under fire right now, and that he could maybe turn into a weird like base trade as he gets, I mean, 6 mutas, not even?
Yeah, like 5 or 6 at most in this situation. Cancels the hatchery, maybe a couple more, but the drone's being pulled away. Hydra has completely shut this down. I mean, even with the mutas, look at the spore crawlers. Those aren't Bly spore crawlers, guys. Those are Hydra spore crawlers.
Yeah, so 7 mutas, and that's really it for Bly. I don't think you can do much with this. Oddly enough, he saved a lot of drones. Like, he still didn't even drone count.
Like 31 drones on one base, though. I mean, that's not good saturation.
Yeah, and Bly was just simply caught off guard. It's actually really too bad for how well prepared he was, how much studying he did. And unfortunately, Hydra just, it's not even like he did that many tricks. Maybe the Nidus runs weren't expected.
It's unfortunate, Bly. If he had like a couple of links with this, I think he holds the top of this 3rd ramp. With the mutas especially that got out, but it is just mutas, and that's what makes it so hard to deal with. The queens, if they had no energy, if there's no transfuses, this might be a different story. But killing one of those queens, you're going to have to kill her 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
So the hatchery's going to go down. Bly's now stuck on what is like 1 base left remaining. This is not looking good.
Yeah, Bly, I mean, if he had that natural, if he had the lair, even if he still had the Spire, that chance for a weird, wonky base trade could have still been in existence, but unfortunately in Hydra, like, he's actually covering his bases, not even just queens, he's getting his own Spire to ensure that there's just no way
I didn't even see that spore crawler move up there, but there it is.
God. Yeah, unfortunately it is it for Bly, and he's probably just thinking like, you know, soaking it in. Unfortunately, like 3-0 and so quickly too. But you know what is funny? He said it's either going to go 3-0 all me or 3-0 all Hydra.
So he had the right call. It's just unfortunately being right is not always a good thing.
Yeah. Fortunately not. So the drones, I guess this is the last-ditch effort. Nidus Firm's right there for immediate reinforcements, as well as more drones coming out here.
Oh, he's actually just brought all his drones.
Hatchery. He's actually fighting.
Boys versus boys!
Oh,
it's boy fights!
Oh dear, oh no. I'm actually waiting for that hatchery to come down.
Bly actually wins the Southern Boy fight, by the way, starting with the top one as well. Queen's starting to get down as they get surrounded.
Victory.
It is like that personal favorite. Like, I may have not won the game, but I killed all your drones and your queens. That felt good.
Man. Like, that is really, like, you know, they start planting down, like, Nexus next to you, and you snipe the next, and you're like, yeah, at least I got that.
Yeah.
What's up?
Put my command center in the corner of the map. I wasted your time. I feel good. But unfortunately, though, Bly still has to have a little bit of tech left, so that might be why he thinks he can still do this. You know, build some lings, maybe dance around the map. But the point still goes to the fact that Hydra's on 3 bases. He's sitting on 43 workers. I mean, I'm a big fan of Bly, but I don't think even he and his stubbornness can win on this sort of situation.
Yeah, he can be pretty stubborn. So I don't know what's going through his head right now, but it's not, of course, unheard of to see him last this long in the last game.
By the way, it's like the one time we can ever really use stubbornness as like a pure compliment, because we actually do mean it entirely like that for Bly.
I feel like stubbornness for us went from just like amazement, because those Nidus worms back in the day, to a compliment purely for life.
Congrats, good game, Hydra!
Wow.
So last Korean standing in the tournament does advance